This is the Willis Twin Tower Show, right here on the Ballroom Network. We're here to rock and bring you the dirt. Tim and Jeff debating on the screen with the Podfather, although behind the scenes they say the Irish bring luck. All we know is the Packers suck. It's Friday night. Are you ready for the show? Talking about the Bears, Irish music. This thing's about to blow. You've been waiting for this night all week. It's time for the Twins to speak. So sit down in that chair. Let's give it up for the Bears.
Feels like game day, doesn't it?
Teams are all gritty, all hail the Windy City. The Twins aren't playing, it's time to go Super Saiyan. It's Friday night. Are you ready for the show? Talking about the Bears, Irish music. This thing's about to blow.
What's up, Bears fans? Welcome back. It's been a couple weeks since we've been here. Will's Twin Towers podcast. You can, as always, guys, please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're not already. We have tons of great content here at the Barroom just about every single day of the week. So please feel free to do so. It gives us a lot of extra exposure and helps us bring you guys the best content we can. So as always, also, guys, if you don't mind following us, if you're on X or Twitter, you can follow me at _Jeff Willis. You can follow my partner here, Tim, at TimWillis24. And you can follow our executive producer, Aldo Gandia, who's in charge of all the big stuff here at the Barroom. He is at Barroom Network. So, like I said, guys, it's been a couple weeks since we've been here. Tim had some stuff going on last week. So it's bye week now, and there's a lot of stuff to reflect on, both good and bad. Personally, I think this is a good time for the bye, and I'll get into why in a little bit here. But we definitely want to know all you guys' thoughts on everything we've seen to this point, the 2-2 record. What are some positives? What are some negatives? What are some questions you guys have for us about it? What are some things that you're seeing that are either concerns or they're also, Tim says I'm having connection issues. I hope it's getting better now. Is it still messed up?
You're freezing up a little bit. It's kind of lagging on your video.
Well, why don't you lead us in here while my computer gets buffered out or whatever it's doing?
Yeah, so like Jeff was saying, last week got a win. Now we are 2-2 heading into the bye. Pretty excited about, the game coming up next week against Washington. A little bit of redemption here. Hopefully we get some, we get a little revenge there. But yeah, 2-2 going into the bye feels pretty good. I mean, the goal, where I thought that they could be, but I didn't expect them to be, was 3-1, and 2-2 was kind of about that range I was hoping they would be. And so not exactly how I thought it would happen. Not exactly, I didn't think we'd get absolutely pummeled by Detroit like we did. And well, that we know what happened there, but ugly game against the Raiders at moments for sure. Glad to see that they found a way to win instead of finding a way to lose. Seems like we finally have that culture here with Ben Johnson that we didn't have with Eberflus, where every close game or every time we would take a lead and we were playing well in the game, they found a way to lose. And like I said, now it looks like they're finding ways to win in those situations. Before, that would have been us getting a kick blocked instead of the other way around. So really happy, really excited to see that. And just the fact that, once again, Caleb playing well in the fourth quarter. The offense wasn't so hot during the game. Cole Kmet probably had the worst game of his life, at least that's what appeared to me. So to see that, Caleb once again doing so well in the fourth quarter, leading his team down the field, taking a lead. Well, or at least in this situation, they were down and then they took a lead, and then of course the field goal came and they missed, but that would have lost the game. So very happy with where they've come or where they've gone so far and how far Caleb has come at this point. And hopefully that will continue to grow. There's still some issues here. Obviously, the pass rush is a huge problem still, although Dennis Allen is still finding a way to hold the line with a defense that is severely bitten by the injury bug. So pretty excited to see that he's able to, hold it together when it seems like it should be falling apart. That just shows about how great of a coordinator he is and how good of a defensive scheme he has. And so I'm excited to see that. I mean, if the defense can just hold a little bit in these games, the offense is showing that it can score points, and that was a nice thing to see. And a good thing to see, in my opinion, was that, they struggled so much during the game on offense, and yet they're still able to score when it matters and when they need to score. And that's something that we don't necessarily see in the past. And so I'm very excited to see, where this is going to go. And can we start making this like a week in, week out basis where the offense is clicking, the defense can hold its own. It doesn't have to be perfect, but if they can have 2 out of 3 phases better than the other team every game, they're going to win all their games or most of their games. If you can have a better offense and a better defense than the other team, or a better offense and a better special teams, or a better defense and a better special teams, any of those two, if you can have 2 out of 3, you should win every game. And as long as the Bears continue to do that, it's going to be a good thing in the future. And I think that Ben Johnson has done such a good job of creating that culture, and just watching him at the end of games in the locker room and how he holds those locker room speeches and the passion that he has coming out, and the players sense that, the players feel that. I'm really starting to wonder sometimes, I mean, just listening to Caleb's press conferences, if it's Ben Johnson speaking out of Caleb's mouth, because you can definitely tell that has rubbed off on him, and it's rubbed off on the other players. They're really starting to sound like their head coach, and that is a sign to me of players buying in. I'm not sure that they ever totally bought into Matt Eberflus. They played hard for him, but buy-in, I don't know if that was a thing. You can see it tangibly, physically on the field. These guys have bought in. And
well, I mean, honestly, look no further than the 2 after the 2 wins in the locker room after the games, how the team just totally embraced their head coach. I mean, in past years, we did not see that a whole lot, especially in the Eberflus era. We didn't see that at all. But I mean, when you see players, and the thing about it is we've heard all about how he's been hard on them and accountable and all these kinds of things, and that, they really have strived for being on the details and all that. And there have been times where he's called guys out and been really hard on them, obviously. So to me, you hear that, and some people don't take that well. Some players don't take it well. So when you see the players in the locker room after these games, and the way they're embracing their coach, the way they're excited to win for their coach, with their coach, it's a big deal to me. I mean, you're seeing guys that are buying into the program. That's the whole idea here. That's exactly what we've all wanted to see in the first place. Like I said before, like we've said many times in the past, we've been calling for basically 3 years now for more accountability, for harder coaching, for things to be more detailed, like I said earlier. So, I mean, this is what we asked for. This is what we were hoping for. And so far, it's looking pretty good. Now, as I said many times before, also, offenses do take some time to start going sometimes. It takes sometimes, 5, 6, 7 weeks into the year. Like I said, also, the Rams, last year took a long time to get going. It took them about half the season for their offense to get rolling. And I've said that several times on this show. So, again, my point is in all this is that, the defense is probably, to me, is the one disappointment, the major disappointment being the run defense. But I'm happy they've been very opportunistic with the takeaways and kept the team in games with the way they've done that. But they definitely have to do a better job of containing the run. And the pass defense has actually been pretty good, though. I can't complain too much about that, especially considering the fact that your number one corner has been out. So, and Terrell Smith, who's a really good depth piece, has been out and is out the whole season. So, yeah, I feel like it's been pretty decent in that regard as far as the pass coverage, but the run defense absolutely needs to be better. There's a lot of things to dig into as far as where the team stands from a production standpoint and all that. And I do want to dig into that a little bit more. I kind of went off into a tangent there, but I guess what I'm trying to get at here is, like I said before, this is what we asked for, guys, and we're getting it. And we are seeing that progress now. honestly, guys, I want you guys to tell me in the chat right now, after you hear me say this, when I watch Caleb right now, compared to watching him last year, the player that I'm seeing on the field is completely different. Now, in week one against Minnesota, we did see a lot of, the same old Caleb from last year, the inaccuracies, especially downfield, things of that nature, still not quite getting the ball out fast enough. But in the last few weeks here, we have really seen that not be the case. I mean, how often are we seeing inaccuracies now? I mean, it's pretty rare, especially on the deep balls. They're all connecting. They're all accurate. So if there's any plays that, and Tim, you alluded to this earlier with Cole Kmet, if there's been any kind of issues really with those passes not connecting, deep passes, it's some drop issues. And there was several in that game from Cole, as you mentioned, Tim. And actually, we had a show here on Barroom on Tuesday night. If you guys haven't had a chance to see it, there's a lot of the great content creators from here in Bears Twitter was on Barroom here with us on Tuesday night. You guys should really check that show out. We talked a lot about it. And I had mentioned Cole Kmet because, Tim and I are obviously lifelong Notre Dame fans, and he did go to Notre Dame. This is by far the worst game I've ever seen him play. And it's not even close. I mean, it's not even close. He's been such a reliable player. He's got very strong hands. I think he had, 2 drops all of last season in total? He had like 3 on Sunday alone. So this guy, I mean, and he wasn't particularly good in the blocking game either. So, I mean, this is just the situation where, it was a rough game for him. I don't expect that to continue for him. And again, the offenses do kind of start slow. You're going to see some up and down from these guys in the time being. So I think they're on the right track. I think towards a good spot. And apparently my internet is still messing up. So what I'm gonna do is, Tim, why don't you take over from me for a little bit? I'm gonna restart my my connection here and see if I can get it fixed.
Yeah, I'm gonna piggyback off what Jeff was saying about Cole Kmet for a minute. Guys, I have always been a very, very firm supporter of of Cole Kmet. You guys have heard that from me in the past. There was a lot of people speculating that Cole is overrated and that he's not a very good route runner or pass catcher. There's a lot of people that thought Colston Loveland was going to come in and take Cole Kmet's job, which, as we've alluded to in the past, it's not in position. But, it's hard to defend him in this situation because it was a really bad game. Cole Kmet, I think, had 1 drop all of last season, or maybe it was the season before, or he maybe even went a full season without a drop. I can't remember, but it's like he doesn't drop the ball ever. He never drops passes, and he had 3 drops. I mean, maybe you could say like 2 drops and 1 ball that would have been a really tough catch, but he got his hands on it. So to me, I was always raised and grew up being told, if you can touch it, you can catch it. So, or if you can get a hand on it, you can catch it. So to me, that was rough. But if you guys didn't see this, and maybe I'm wrong in this, maybe I'm not seeing it, the right way, but after that throw, the first drop that Cole made, the one that was down the middle of the field, he went to catch the ball, and it was almost like he was looking for a defender, and he got drilled. And as he got drilled, he dropped the ball, where it was actually like simultaneous. He was actually, I think the ball hit his hands first, and then he got drilled. It was like he was worrying about taking a hit. And here it is. King Booker World did see the same thing as me, because he says that hit Kmet took messed him up that game, and I 100% agree. Because if you see him get up after that hit, after that play, you can see him do this number here, like he got his bell rung. And after that, it was like he wasn't the same player. Now, I don't know if I didn't see maybe too much miscommunication, but it was like his hands and his brain weren't connected, and he wasn't getting, where he would normally be. His hands were on the ball, or he wasn't seeing it. It was weird. And I agree here. He wasn't the same, as King Booker World says here. And I agree totally. I really wonder if he did get a concussion in that game. But there was something strange about that play. So I'm not sure. And I don't know if we're ever going to know. I don't know if we'll ever hear anything about that. But to me, it did seem like there was something off, and that he never played the same the rest of the game. And we're not used to seeing him drop the ball either. So maybe it was also just one of those things where he made a mistake and he wasn't really able to come back from it. Like he never recovered, because like in most sports, for instance, in baseball, we tell, like my son plays travel ball, and I coach his team, and we tell the kids like, hey, be a goldfish out there. If you make a mistake, forget about it, move on to the next play. Because if you guys know anything about baseball, once you make an error, it's almost guaranteed the ball's coming back to you. It's almost like clockwork. Like, it always happens. The ball will find you if you make a mistake, and especially if you keep your head down. So once that happened, maybe that was the situation that happened with him. Like, he made the mistake and then he was never able to recover, and he just, like, it was in his head at that point. He was never able to fix it. But I don't know. But either way, both of those things seem plausible, but I'm not sure. Jeff, I don't know if you were able to hear that conversation.
I didn't hear any of it.
But we were discussing the Cole Kmet thing, piggybacking off of that, and I mentioned to the chat that after that hit Cole took on the first drop he made, it looked like his bell got rung a little. When he got up, you could see him shaking his head like this, and he was never the same player. King Booker World mentioned it in the chat before I was even able to say it. He was saying almost the identical thing, that it seemed like he was never the same player during that game. So, you know, again, that's a possibility. But the other part I thought was, you know, maybe he just, once he made the mistake, he wasn't able to recover, and it was in his head at that point. So
I do remember what play you're talking about. And I do remember him actually coming up after that play and like shaking himself off of it. I don't know if I could be wrong about this, but if my memory serves right, I'm not so sure he was shaking his head off necessarily.
He was,
but he was something out.
I watched it again because when I came home, I watched the replay, and you see his head go like this. That's exactly what he did. So
well, I'm not going to.
That's what makes me think that.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose it's possible. I mean, you got to remember though, these teams, they do have. I mean, they're so. The NFL and teams right now are doing their best to be so diligent about concussions and being on top of this stuff. I mean, look at Jaquan Brisker last year. He was out multiple times. And part of that, I think, was because Flus just didn't want to play him at the end of the year. But he couldn't even get back into a game after he got hurt. So the thing is with concussions, I feel like if there was any kind of concern that, like, after he gotten his bell rung, that he was, you know, had a possible concussion, you'd think that they would have taken him out and been checking him out immediately. And if he wasn't immediately cleared, then, you know, you don't put him back in the game, especially with a concussion. That's not something you mess with. I mean, we've seen too much history with past players as they've gotten older with you know, having issues with that and how devastating it can be. So I don't think that that's the case. I don't think he necessarily had that as the issue. I just think he had a bad game. I think it's as simple as that. Sometimes guys just don't play well. It happens to everybody. I don't think I agree with Tony right here, what he's saying. I don't think there was anything like that. I don't think it was a concussion issue. I just think he played like shit. Personally, I mean, to put it roughly and frankly, he didn't have a good game, and that's okay. It happens to guys. Like I said, I think he'll bounce back. He's that type of player. Cole Kmet's a good football player, so I don't think it's going to be an issue with him moving forward. But as I have said earlier in the show, I do think that the offense is on the right trajectory. They're going to have some ups and downs as the season goes along. I think having the bye week right now, and this is what I was talking about at the beginning of the show, having the bye week right now to me is actually a good thing. And at the beginning of the season, we a lot of us talked about how it's not exactly an ideal spot because, you know, you have so much of so many games on the back end of your roster that you don't really get much of a rest in between games for, that it's kind of early to have that bye. Well, I think in the particular spot with the Bears right now, because their injuries that they have at this current spot, Kyler Gordon being a major one, TJ Edwards being a major one, you want these guys to get healthy and have a little bit of time to get over this stuff they've been dealing with, you know, soft tissue stuff, because that shit has a tendency to linger, you know, ankle sprains and things of that nature that can kind of linger a little bit for a couple weeks. So it's a good time right now to have this bye, get these guys healthy, and really it's a good chance for the coaching staff to reflect on the last 4 games and say, okay, what are we doing well? What are we not doing well? What does our identity look like? What is it starting to look like? Because I've heard a lot of people saying, and I want to make this a topic real quick. I'm going to talk about this for a second. I've seen a lot of people talking about how, and this has been an issue with the Bears for years now, that there's not an identity to this team. They don't see a clear identity from this offense right now. And I would say I don't disagree with that, but I think we're starting to lean into the direction of what that identity is going to be. So we've seen throughout these last few games. The running game has struggled to come together, but Ben has clearly made it a point of emphasis to continue going to it and to continue, relying on it. He's not going to give up on his run game, which is fine. But I think it's been clear from what we've seen in the first 4 games, how much they're throwing the ball as well, that I think that this team's identity is going to start to lean into Caleb Williams' arm. I think it really is. I think the passing game is going to be where this identity is. And whether that means, the creative plays that get that 60-yard pass down the field on a flea flicker, whether it means a pass like in the game against Dallas where he's getting pressure in his face, throwing a ball off his back foot on a laser about 10 yards to the sideline. It was just an unbelievable throw that, maybe 5 guys on earth can make. It's one of those things where, like, that talent at some point, I think, it's not only going to start to take over. We're already starting to see that happen in games. We're starting to see that talent really be a difference in these football games. The throws he's making, even the runs. Late in the game last week, in that drive where they won the football game, he had 2 huge runs to set up the game-winning drive, to set up the touchdown of DeAndre Swift. So I feel like I said, we're starting to see the identity is really going to be moving through his arm. And if you guys disagree with me, let me know. I kind of want to know what your thoughts are on it. And Tim, I want to know your thoughts on it too. Are you in agreement with me that they're kind of heading that direction as far as their identity going through his arm, or do you think it's going to maybe lean towards a different direction?
I think they telegraphed that after the draft when you didn't see them really focus on the running back room. I mean, they and even when they had the opportunity after preseason to sign some of those guys, there was a lot of names, a lot of running backs that were available, and they chose not to sign anyone or to trade for anyone, which tells me that Ben Johnson looked at this roster and looked at Caleb Williams and said, for us to have success where I want us to go, our best bet is to focus more on Caleb's arm than it is the running game. I feel more strongly about the running game here, about the passing game here than I did in Detroit. I didn't really trust the passing game as much in Detroit. That's why we leaned so heavily on the run game, which in turn helped Jared Goff succeed in Detroit because he doesn't have the pure physical attributes that Caleb Williams does. So they had to rely on the run game and the play action to help with the passing game in Detroit. In Chicago, they can lean on Caleb's arm because he has superior arm talent to 99.99999% of the world. So this is something that I truly believe you're onto something with that point, that, as much as that pains me to say, that they're focusing on the passing game because that's truly where they believe this team's strength lies. And what did Ben Johnson say? And we've mentioned this a million times. What did Ben Johnson say in his first press conference? I am not bringing Detroit's offense here. I'm building this thing up from the studs. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make my own offense for this roster. And to me, that meant let's focus on this quarterback's arm because he has superior arm talent that only 3 to 5 at the most quarterbacks in this league can even make, that can even do. Let's really use that to our advantage, because otherwise, what's the point of bringing in a quarterback number 1 overall like Caleb if you're not going to accentuate his arm talent for your football team? You know what I'm saying? I mean, you still need to have a running game, absolutely. And there's nothing wrong with leaning on a running game, especially in late game situations where you're protecting a lead. But if you have a talent like that, let him be the reason you win games. That's the reason you have him here, because you're going to have to pay him in 2 years. And when you do, the team has to start winning because of Caleb, not with Caleb. So really focus on that arm. Really focus on starting to win with that arm, and then you can start winning because of his arm, which is the ultimate goal. I want to have, for the first time in my lifetime, in 36 years of being a Bears fan, I want to be able to say that the Chicago Bears quarterback is one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the NFL. I want to say in my lifetime that the Chicago Bears won the 2027 Super Bowl or 2028 Super Bowl. I want to be able to say my team won the Super Bowl, and it was because of the Super Bowl MVP, Caleb Williams. That's what I want. We have been so deprived of that as Bears fans. Deprived of it. Every team can say they have a 4,000-yard passer, and we don't have that. We don't. We're going to have it this year. I really, and barring injury to Caleb, knock on wood, please God, don't let that happen. But he's going to be a 4,000-yard passer. But I also want to see a quarterback, not just the defense. I want a quarterback that can carry my team into and through the playoffs, because if you have the quarterback, you always have a puncher's chance in the playoffs. Always. We've seen it time and time again.
Let me just piggyback off you a little bit here, since we're on the topic of the quarterback here. So I first of all, I think we're starting to see a lot of it anyways, with how, productive he is and how calm he is and how well he plays in those situational critical moments, the 2-minute drives. He's been excellent to this point in the season. He literally won us the football game last week after, obviously to get us into the point before Josh Blackwell, blocked that field goal. But we would not have won that football game had he not led that game-winning drive. So we have a video here I want to show you guys, because I tend to agree with you, Tim. I think he's trending towards that, being that guy, whereas there was a lot of questions about that before the season, and even in week 1 after he didn't have a great game. But I think people are starting to finally see this kid is he's shown massive improvement. He's starting to play the way guys want quarterbacks to play. So we do have a clip here from, I don't know what's going on with my internet, but hopefully it corrects itself a little bit. But we do have a clip here I want to play for you guys. From Bruce Arians was on the Up and Adams show with Kay Adams, if you guys haven't seen this yet. And the whole interview is really good that he did, but he was talking about Caleb Williams with her and some of his criticisms and whatnot. So I want to show you guys this clip.
I think you're going to see a big jump out of Caleb Williams next year, and maybe the second half of this season, but next year, especially in Ben Johnson's offense. And I think that's what it takes. It takes some continuity.
Take some continuity with him and Ben Johnson. You're in on Caleb.
I am. He's a talented guy, and same thing. Leave the Superman cape on the bench and just go play quarterback. So
you and me, I mean, he did those Mahomesian things in college. You and me are sitting at a bar. There's a Chicago fan who's like, F this. He's not the guy, the way he carries himself, the this, that. What would you say?
Give him a chance. All right, give him a chance. Don't judge a quarterback on his fingernails. That's for sure. I mean, the cat can flat spin it, and that's it. I think the Bears fans all of a sudden love the guy. He just won 2. And that's what it takes. It takes a win like the Raider game for them, blocking that field goal to get that belief going. I love the locker room speech afterwards. I thought it was fantastic. And, he's got a lot of weapons, and I think they're heading in the right direction in Chicago.
Super Bowl winning coach, both as a head coach and as a coordinator, who molded guys like Ben Roethlisberger, Kurt Warner, if I'm not mistaken. Wasn't he in Arizona when Kurt Warner was there?
Yes.
I thought he was. So we're talking about a guy.
Whoa. Yeah, I think so. The head coach was Ken Wisenhunt.
Yeah. I could be wrong about that one, but he has been with some good quarterbacks in the past. Most recently coached Tom Brady in Tampa Bay, obviously. And Brady doesn't just go somewhere and play for an offensive coach that doesn't know what he's doing. So this is a guy that I just thought him saying that and talking about, first of all, I think talking about the coach and how he loved the locker room speak, I think that's a big deal. This is a really good coach who sees our coach and is impressed with them. And he's talking about, how we got to have some patience with Caleb, how he really expects to see that big jump next year, maybe in the second half of this year. I think we're already starting to see him take a jump. And really after this bye week, I'm gonna be really keen to see how he does with 2 weeks to prepare for the next opponent and see what kind of jump he makes towards the back half of the season, the back end of the season. So, and King, you're right. We heard about this shit for months before the season started because of all the criticism with Caleb and how Bagent needs to be starting and how he's the guy and whatever, Bagent mania and all that. We had people in here in our chat, tons of people doing that. So, the fact that we haven't heard anything like that in a few weeks, that's exactly why, because our quarterback's playing good ball. So, and yeah, Tony, you're right. We could have had Bruce Arians as the head coach. They hired Mark Trestman and said that was an awful decision. I remember that like it was yesterday. I still can't believe they did that. But, I just think that, we're finally in a good spot now. It's unfortunate that that's the way it happened in the past, but, we finally got things right, it looks like. At least that's the way it's trending. So I'm very confident in the way our offense is going. And I do want to dig into the defense a little bit, unless you have anything you want to add to this point, Tim, as far as Caleb's concerned and in that video we just watched.
I mean, it's pretty obvious at this point that Caleb Williams does have superior talent, like I've mentioned in the show already. And, we're starting to hear more and more people within the NFL or close ties to the NFL or people that are just football junkies and know the sport very well are all, speaking in Caleb's defense. You hear them come on these podcasts or you hear them speak on it, and they pretty much shut down most of the negativity that's come his way, because you can see tangibly that this kid is the real deal. He is legit. And people are now seeing that with Ben Johnson, this kid is going to take a leap and go to the next level. Now, Bruce Arians is under the belief that it's going to take probably until next year, maybe the second half of this year, but he's going to take a big jump, and we're going to see it on display. And, the first thing when she asks him, are you a believer? He's like, oh, yeah, I'm a believer, because, Bruce Arians is probably thinking, my God, if I had this kid when I was coaching, wow, we would have been incredible. So, I just, you got to think of it that way. When a coach that has had success like Bruce Arians has had, I mean, he was good with Indianapolis Colts. That should say something to you right there. When you are that good of an offensive coordinator, and he was a great head coach as well. I mean, granted, he had Tom Brady as a quarterback for a while there, but regardless, like he's shown that he's a great head coach and a great offensive coordinator. If you give him somebody like Caleb Williams, you're talking a guy at his age, he could have had multiple Super Bowls before, because he didn't even really get an opportunity until he was in his 70s. So if you can imagine, if he would have had Caleb Williams when he was in his 60s or so, he probably is going to be a Hall of Fame head coach. And man, he could possibly be now, but I mean, he would have just solidified that legacy. So to me, this is, we're really hearing this more often now than in the beginning of the season or before season started. We were hearing a lot of negatives about Caleb, and then we started seeing all the stuff with the article the book, from, I can't remember his name. That guy that wrote the book about the quarterback. What was that?
Wickersham.
Seth Wickersham. Thank you.
I didn't even hear anything you said for the past 5 minutes. I walked right in and I got an answer for you. By the way, how's my internet doing? Is it better now?
At the moment, it seems to be. But, Seth Wickersham's book, that's all we heard about in the beginning. And then we saw the article from that old Packers beat reporter that wrote the article on Caleb Williams and the negativity. And now the Bears have won 2 games in a row. Caleb Williams has really, if we're being honest, Caleb Williams has been lights out since the season started. He's been good in every game so far. You cannot say that he's played poorly in any game this year. It's not been Caleb. There have been the defense has been poor. There's been issues on the offense, running game, offensive line, but it's not been Caleb. Caleb has been good. And the only interception he has this year was on a tip ball in the air. So maybe you're right. Maybe you're right there.
Regardless,
one of them was not his fault. So my point in this is the narrative has flipped, and it's one of those things where all you got to do is win and play well, and this stuff will go away. So I'm glad to see it. I'm glad to hear it, because I was done with that stuff. Like, I didn't want to hear any of that negative stuff, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter anymore, because he was drafted by the Bears. He played for the Bears. He never quit on the Bears. And even though everything was terrible last year, you could see that Caleb was still playing hard every game. It was never, I never thought it was a character thing. I never saw any issue there. He loves football. I think it's you. He loves football, which is what's important. So if you can play football at that level and always play at that level because you love the game as much as he does, good things will happen. Your level of play is not going to fall off because of your care and love for this game. And sometimes that's all that really matters, because there's going to be deficiencies in your play at times. It's going to happen. But if you have the love of the game like Caleb does, or like he's shown so far, you're always going to push further and further and further and give the effort that is required in this sport to have success. So, look, it's like the same old story. Like, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. It's just the reality of it. And Caleb is superiorly talented, so he's got both, which is a recipe for absolute success. So we spent a lot of time talking about Caleb tonight, but I think it's well warranted and deserving, because he's been a very bright spot for this team this year, even through the 4 games. We might be 2-2, but like I said, Caleb has not been the problem in the losses. Caitlin, even in the offensive game, but I'm sure he's missed some things here and there. He's missed some reads. There were some throws that were off. Some of them we now know were not on him. They were on the receiver changing the route up, and just the connection between them wasn't squared away. But the team is playing, or the way the team is playing is not on Caleb when it's not good. It's not been on Caleb. He's been very good. So again, I love the direction they're going. We're sitting in a good spot here at 2-2 going into the bye week, and Washington coming up in 2 weeks. I'd love to see some redemption there. Matter of fact, Jeff, if you got anything, go ahead, because I want to switch gears here in just a second. So if you want to go ahead and rebuttal that, feel free to do so, and then we'll move on.
Well, there's just one thing I want to say in regards to Caleb before we finish this thing off with him, because like you said, we have spent a decent amount of time today. I mean, it's a bye week. It makes sense that we did. I'll just say this. Yeah, he hasn't been perfect by any stretch. I don't want to get off the idea that he's been like an all-pro to this point in the season, but he is significantly improved. And every single week you're seeing him get better and better. Now there are, like I said, some ups and downs. Every game he has some ups and downs where it's like, you are seeing some things where it's like, yeah, he's not getting better in certain areas you want to see him get better at all the time, but he's also improving in areas that you want to see him get better in. So again, we have to keep it all in context and realize as we see things happen, also he's playing well. If you watch the tape, he's playing good football. So, it's one of those things where, again, it's not going to be perfect every single week. There's going to be good and bad. But as long as he continues on the pace that he's on right now, I think we're all going to be happy with what we see from him. So it's a very good chance. That he could turn this season at the back half here into a Pro Bowl level season, anyways. So if he does that, I think we'll all be happy as well. And guys, I'm sorry, I really don't know what's going on with my connection tonight. This is not ever a problem. So there must be some kind of issue with my internet or with I can't be my computer because I just restarted it. So
do you have a Wi-Fi connector, or is yours
I always go Wi-Fi.
I know, but is yours an adapter, or is it built into your computer? Your Wi-Fi adapter.
Built into my computer.
Yeah, that's a problem then. So, because like mine is a USB, and if my internet's slow, I just can plug it back in, and it usually works.
Yeah,
so I'm not sure.
Something different probably. Or you use it does. I don't want to get into that. But in any case, guys, I apologize for that. Hopefully it won't be a problem again next week. I haven't mentioned this to you guys yet. I'll take a quick second to say it. I've been living in California for the past 4 years now, but I'll be in transition next week. I'm moving back to Indiana. So next time you guys see me, I'll be in a different spot. So hopefully
not in the right spot though. Not in the right place in Indiana.
That is not the right spot in Indiana. I hate to say it, Tim, but so next time you guys see
where your brother is the right spot. What are you talking about?
There's nowhere in Indiana that's better than California. Let's just put it that way. It is what it is. So yes, although Indiana's Wi-Fi is better, I don't know if that's true or not, but I would imagine, like I said, I haven't had these issues before. My Wi-Fi is pretty good here. So in any case, let's move on a little bit. I'm sure we got some questions in here we got to get to. We got about 15 minutes left in the show, 20 minutes or so.
Before we do that, before we get into the question, go ahead if you got something real quick.
I was just going to say we probably should dig into this defense a little bit because of what we've seen from them, unless you have something else that's really hanging on your heart that you want to get into, Tim.
Well, there's something I want to get to, but it can wait. Go ahead with your defense thing.
Well, I was just going to say, this is, like I said, I do anticipate us doing something about this here because we haven't, like I said, the pass rush has been just about non-existent. The run defense has not been very good at all. They've been gashed for big runs. The Bears are giving up, I think they gave up like over 7 yards a carry to Ashton Genty in that game against the Raiders, which is just unreal. The guy had a great game against them. But,
well,
of course,
yes and no. I don't know if I agree with that. Genty had a good game because he had 3 big explosive plays, but outside of that, he didn't do a whole lot. So really, to me, it was they need to slow down the explosive run plays. That's what's killed them.
You got to tackle better. To me, the biggest thing I'm seeing from the defense on film is the fact they can't tackle worth a shit. And I don't know what the problem is. I don't know if it's guys just taking. There's some bad angles being taken, yes, but guys they're not wrapping up well. They're not, and when they do hit, they're obviously not bringing guys down because I think it's because they're not wrapping up very well for one, but also they're not. Again, they're just not. I don't think they're being physical enough with the ball carrier when they're going in to make plays on the tackle. And again, they're just not bringing guys down. And a guy like Ashton Genty, you got to bring it against a guy like that. You're right, David. There's just too many missed tackles. Way too many. Every game so far, it's an area that absolutely must be cleaned up. Now,
they're missing TJ Edwards too.
I was just going to say, TJ Edwards back on the field be a massive help? I believe so because that's one guy that I will say he doesn't have supreme athleticism by any stretch of the imagination. I think he ran like a 4.7 or something. No, not even a 4.7. I think it was like a 5.1 or something.
Plays faster.
But what I'm saying is the whole point is yes, he plays fast. And he takes very, very good angles to the football.
Yes.
And he's a very strong tackler as well. So he's a guy you can count on to bring guys down in space, which has been a problem so far. I will say that's one thing they did pretty well under Eberflus is they tackled pretty well in space. They have not done that to this point in this season. So I need that to get better. And again, I think TJ Edwards will help that out a lot. Now, Kevin Byard missed a big tackle for as well as he's played. He had a phenomenal game, by the way. He did miss that tackle on that Genty run where he scored a touchdown. But that was a tough one. That was a tough tackle to make there on the sideline. Guy coming at you. He said in his press conference he felt like he probably should have made that play. And he probably should have, but it was a tough make. And you're right, Cliff. He's got great balance. He is built like a rock. He's 5'8". He's a little guy. With a guy with that kind of size, you have to take him on head on and hit him just the right way, like Ben Johnson said in his press conference. So, yeah, it's something that needs to be addressed, something that needs to get corrected and looked at. But I don't know, Tim, is there anything you want to add to that? Because like I said, the pass coverage has been pretty good, but our run defense must get better. I would not be surprised to see some changes made to the rotation on the front four. I expect to see more Shamar Turner coming forward, not as much of Chris Williams. Grady Jarrett, I hope, gets healthy because we need to see him making more of a contribution. Javon Dexter needs to make more of a contribution in there. But again, I do think we're going to see more reps from Turner. I think they were kind of slow to get him going because of his injury in training camp. But I think they're going to start ramping him up and getting him more because we need that guy to develop. So that's one change I think we'll see. But, I mean, what else do you want to add to any of that, Tim?
I think we're going to see more Andrew Billings. I think they've got to get him more reps, especially on, early downs, rundowns. Excuse me. But I think once TJ Edwards is back, that will help a lot too. Although I will say that in his absence, Noah Sewell's been very good. Very good. It just goes to show that Eberflus doesn't have a clue because they would not play that kid. They never used him. They never gave him, any reps on the field at all. And he's been really good at the inside linebacker spot. So that's a guy that you feel very comfortable having out there or can fill in for an injured Tremaine or TJ Edwards, and you would be just fine. So that's been a positive. But yes, the run defense has been really bad. It's still bad. It's a little bit better than last year, maybe you could say, although it's early and hard to tell at this point of the season, but it still has to improve. It's still got to get better, and hopefully it does with some of those guys coming back. So, but again, we'll see going forward. But, you guys, in 2 weeks, we've got Washington. That's our redemption game, or hopefully we get some revenge, like I mentioned in the beginning of the show. But I've got the bye week blues. Like, I want to see some Bears football, and it's pretty disappointing and stinks that we have such an early bye. So about 10 minutes before the show, I was messing around on Suno, and I wrote some lyrics, and I made a song. And so, Aldo, if you could pull that up, I'm going to play that song for you guys.
Okay. The Bears are on by a week without their football. At least we haven't withdrawn. Pressure kicks in, it feels like a sin. At least they can't lose. I have the bye week blues.
That's pretty hilarious. If you guys didn't see, Jeff made his stupid comment about how this sucks. And as soon as he said it, he got kicked off the stream. So,
True.
StreamYard is in defense of me. But yes, King Booker World said some 41-ish. Yes, I did make it. I actually, once I gave it the lyrics, you either you can choose, you can give it some ideas and it will spit lyrics out for you. Or in my case, I just make my own lyrics because I don't want, I just like be able to say what I want to say and not, have a doctored thing. It's just, I don't know. I like it better that way because then I can get it to sound like what I think it should sound like. So once I type in the lyrics and then it asks you prompts like what style and things. And that was it. I said, I wanted emo, punk rock. And, I was looking for a little bit of that, like almost like All Time Low, which if you guys watch that show or if you watch Bare Their Souls this week, Zim made a song. And I thought it was All Time Low when it was playing. It sounded so much like them. It was really impressive. And I love All Time Low. I was telling Aldo before the show, I kept wanting to just say, Dear Maria, count me in. And I was like, this has to be All Time Low. It was crazy. But that was kind of like the inspiration of it. Like I thought, I wanted to be emo a little bit, but I wanted to not be like super emo. I wanted to have some punk rock feel too, because it's the bye week blues. Like it stinks. We have no football on Sunday. Like we're going to have to watch other teams play. So
yeah, Jay Grizz, it was kind of Fall Out Boyish too. I see that
for sure.
But I could also see Sum 41. By the way, Fat Lip, what a great song by Sum 41.
That's not even their best song. They have a ton of good songs.
I think it is. When we were growing up, I don't know if you guys had this. Speaking, King mentioned that Sum 41. Speaking of them, Tim and I, when we were growing up, I had that. Do you guys remember when they had the Now CDs? They had like Now 1 and Now 15, Now 20, whatever it was. Every year they came out like the collection of hits at the time. I had Now 8, and that song was on Now 8. That tells you how old we're getting to be now and how long ago that shit was. But what a great song. But anyways, I was mostly just messing with Tim when I said that, obviously, guys. So it wasn't bad. I just like to give Tim a hard time all the time. But I do think
Aldo, let's do that. Let's do it.
Barroom
hits. Yes, absolutely. We should do that.
That'd be cool. Yeah,
That would be pretty sweet.
that's pretty funny.
Make
I will
a CD, sell it.
I don't know if you guys have noticed this on Tim's screen. I think it's kind of ironic that he has to mention he's the favorite Tim, or the favorite twin. The only person who would say that about themselves is the one who knows they're not the favorite twin. Let's just put it that way. But anyways, guys, like, yeah, that song was pretty decent, Tim. I'll give you some credit for that. You did a pretty good job writing those lyrics for doing it in a day or whatever it was that you did it. So I'll give you some
5 minutes.
I'll give you some props for that.
I didn't think they were that great, but I did it in 5 minutes. I was trying to hurry up and get through it to make it to the show.
Though, I would, if you're thinking bi-week blues, I probably would have gone more in the ballad direction personally. It might be,
That's all you listen to, though.
Or just blues in general. Some blues music, man. Blues is great.
Yeah, I wanted to have a little bit of that punk rock upbeat sound to it.
That's fair. I mean, you do what you got to do.
I do want to know, Jay Grizz, what do you like about me? I'm in.
I don't like anything about him, so it's going to be new to me, whatever you say. So anyways, guys, we're running out of time here. I do want to get to you guys' questions before we get out of here. So Aldo does want to know, though, so here's a question for you guys. How would you rate Tim's bi-week blues from 1 to 10, 10 being the highest? So unfortunately, you probably can't go sub-0 with that, but, a 1 would probably be sufficient if you wanted to roll with that number. So anyways, guys, rate Tim's song. And let's see here. What do we got for questions? Everything except the Reds had. Tim, the Reds suck. Cubs suck.
I will. Let me defend that really quick. So, Jay Grizz, when I was a kid, when I was little, I didn't really have a favorite baseball team because, as you know, Jeff is a Sox fan and my dad's a Sox fan. I've never been able to get behind that. Like, they suck. Why would I want to be a Sox fan? And I watched a little bit of the Cubs just because we had WGN, so that I actually kind of liked the Cubs for a while, but Ken Griffey Jr. was my favorite player in baseball. And so I didn't really like the Mariners that much, but I loved watching the Mariners because I loved watching him and A-Rod and, Rodriguez, Edgar Martinez, not Rodriguez. Edgar Martinez. I loved watching that team play. Randy Johnson, that was a really good team that I still can't believe never won a World Series, but I loved watching them. And one day I was watching WGN. I was watching the Cubs play, and they were playing this red team. And I was like, well, the red's my favorite color. I like watching this game. And I swear to God, guys, that's how I became a Reds fan. I just kept watching that team. I loved it. I loved their color scheme, and so I started watching the Reds. And then, probably 2 years after I watched that, they signed Ken Griffey Jr., and I was like, I'm sold. That's it. I'll never go back to any other team again. So that's how I became a Reds fan. But I get it. I get the whole not being a Chicago fan, which is so weird. Cincinnati, I have no other reason to like Cincinnati. Don't like Cincinnati for anything else. I don't like the Bengals. I don't like anything else there. But I'm a Reds fan, and it's just because I started watching him play the Cubs one day, and that was my favorite color at the time. I was 8 years old, probably. I was young, but that's why.
Well, Griffey did play for the White Sox for a little while, by the way. Not when he was good. It was at the end of his career.
He traded him to the Sox. The Reds did.
Yeah. He was only with the Sox for a year or two, and like I said, he wasn't any good then. He was the very end of his career. But
they also tried to put him in center field when he was 40. What do you
think? I think they played him. I don't think they played him primarily in center. I think they played him a lot in left, if I'm not mistaken.
Right. He was a right fielder at that point in his career.
I can't remember.
They might have had him in left, but he played right in Cincinnati.
It was a long time ago. I really don't remember now. But in any case, he wasn't there for very long. And he wasn't any good when he was there. It was the very end of his career. So in any case, we do have some questions here I want to get to. Amos wants to know if we see this is a good question, Amos. He wants to know if we see the coach's touch in the way the players are playing. Absolutely. I don't see how you couldn't see that. The way the guys, obviously the attention to detail has made a difference because they're not, they've been able to have success with a lot of what they're doing. Obviously the pass plays, for an example, you're seeing guys get open an awful lot. So what they're doing schematically is working, especially in the pass game. And I do see just the way, like I said before in the post game press or the post game locker room speech that Ben Johnson gave, you can just see these guys, the way they like to play for the coach, the way they love playing for their coach. It's clear as day to me. You can see it rubbing off on him. Yeah, his energy is very obvious on and off the field, and you can feel it when they're playing as well. So I do think they have confidence in their coach. I think they have belief in their coach. He's going to put him in the right spots, and so far he has. He's had a few blunders here and there. I would say there's maybe been a few clock issues, a few clock mismanagement issues, not anywhere near what we saw with Eberflus. But there have been a couple things where there was a play, for instance, I think it was in the Vegas game, as a matter of fact, where yes, it was before halftime, and there was about 2.5 minutes left, and they're coming up on the 2-minute warning. He's getting his play call in, and they're running out of time before the 2-minute warning. And he does run out of time, and they end up having to just let it run down. And he got upset about it over the intercom. I think, matter of fact, you can read his lips. He's saying something along the lines of like, it would have been effing nice to know that kind of thing. So to me, somebody didn't relay the message quickly enough on the headset. But also, he's the head coach. He should probably have a pretty good idea how much time is left on his own accord, even with all the other stuff that's going on around him. Again, these things do happen. I'm not going to hold it against him. He's a first-time coach, and these things they take a little bit of time to get used to. But King, what's funny is he says we're working the same brainwave. I'm the missing triplet. You want to hear a funny story about that, actually? So I'll try to make this quick. When my mom and dad found out that they were pregnant with twins in the first case, they actually told my mom there might be triplets. And my mom was going to name them Timothy, Jeffrey, and Zachary. Well, I come to find out that there was no triplet. It was just the two of us, probably because
There was. I ate him.
Tim and I whooped his ass, and he didn't come out. So that's just all that. But no, there was some thought that there could be a third one of us, King. Yeah, so maybe you are the long lost triplet that we didn't know we had. But yeah, I think there's some thought to be had for that. I mean, what do you think, Tim? As far as what I was talking about a second ago before that?
I basically mentioned this earlier when I was talking about Ben Johnson in his press conference, or I'm sorry, Caleb Williams in his press conferences. He's starting to sound more and more like like Ben Johnson. So are the other players. So it's very clear and evident that he has rubbed off on this team, and they have really taken to that culture. So I think it's pretty certain at this point that has happened. So I'm laughing too, but so Aldo asked us earlier he asked the chat, do you think we could talk Jeff and Tim to dress up like Terror Twins for Halloween show? I got to admit, I'm not familiar with the Terror Twins. I had to Google it, and it's two WWE wrestlers. It's a guy and his sister, I'm assuming. If we do that, Jeff has to dress up as the girl, because I actually had a sister as a twin when we were born, and she decided to change her name to Jeff, so he has to be the girl. That's the only thing I can think of.
I don't know what he's talking about. I will say this to you guys.
Bullshit!
You can't deny this one, Tim, because I know for a fact it happens, and it happened, and I have witnesses who will attest to this fact. Tim actually did dress up as a girl in high school.
He did.
If anybody's going to be,
I was in middle school.
Whatever. It happened. I ain't the one who did it. It was you. So if one of us is gonna be the sister, I would think it'd be you in this case. I mean,
and guess where all the attention came from that Halloween.
Oh my God! Oh no!
Okay.
What is that? Oh my God!
Anyway, yes, I did. I dressed up as a Notre Dame cheerleader, and guess where I got all the attention from that night? Girls. So I was smart about it. But anyway, moving on. Cliff asks, should we trade for Kayvon Thibodeau? If the Bears are going to make a move and take on significant salary, which they wouldn't take it on right now, but if you're going to trade for Thibodeau, you have to extend him because he's on the last year of his rookie contract, and that's going to cost a ton of money. You've already got invested on 2 defensive ends. I don't see it happening. If they're going to make a trade for somebody on the defensive line, to me, it would have to be a tackle somewhere. It would have to be some sort of interior tackle. I don't know who, but I'm thinking if you're going to make a deal for somebody like that, go get Jeffrey Simmons because Tennessee sucks, and that dude is a freaking dog.
If he became available, if Jeffrey Simmons became available, that one I could see. I could see that one.
Throw the kitchen sink at him, too.
Well, you wouldn't have. I don't think he'd be all that expensive.
Maybe not. Maybe not.
I could see it being a late day 2 pick for a guy, like a third rounder for him, maybe. A second rounder would be, I think, at most for Jeffrey Simmons. That would be the highest you could see him being paid for. And I think that's pushing it. I don't know, at his age, in this point in his career, you're getting that much for him. I would say maybe a 3 or a 4. So, I mean, if that opportunity becomes available, I would not mind that at all. I think it would help a lot. I mean, they've got so much money invested in their edges and their edge rusher as it is. I don't know that they would necessarily go that route either, but possibly if one became available, I could see an edge too. But King is in agreement with me. He says a 4th rounder for Simmons. I tend to think so too. I'm thinking it'd be more, early day 4 or early day 3, late day 2, more so than like a second.
I think it's a minimum 2. I think you'd have to give up a 2 at minimum to get Simmons.
I don't think at his age you're gonna get that much for him. I just don't see
not
it.
He just signed a contract.
He's in his 30s already.
No way.
I'm pretty positive Jeffrey Simmons.
Simmons is like 26 or 27.
Somebody look that up for us. He's not that young. Somebody should look that up for us because I'm pretty positive he's in his 30s by now. But Tim, why don't you do it while I'm getting into these other questions here? But yeah, I could see something like that for sure, guys. If we're going to do something like that, I don't see Thibodeau.
He's 28. You're wrong.
He's due for an extension. He's closer to 30 than 26, though. So, well, it's about the same. So anyway, it doesn't matter. But in any case, 28 is still, that's getting older. I mean, I don't think you're going to get a second-round pick for a 28-year-old interior defense. I just don't see that being the case. I mean, it's not like he's Chris Jones. I mean, he's a very good player, but I 2 is a lot. I'm with you, Book. I think it's more like a 4 for him.
I mean, if it's only going to take a 4, you make that deal yesterday because that's not a lot of capital. The money is going to be the issue, but they can figure out the salary cap. They could figure that. They put themselves in a position where they can do that now.
But it's just a matter of, well, now if you do that, you have to commit to this guy for the next several years in order to do that. So that's the one thing you got to consider there. So we did the Terror Twins question there. That's pretty funny. Cliff, God, I have a hard time answering this question. He wants to know who wins it all first, Bears or Cubs. I hope it's the Bears. The Cubs, as much as I hate to say this because I'm a White Sox fan and I despise the Cubs because of that, I have a lot of Cubs fan friends, tons of friends that are Cubs fans, but guys, I hate to say, usually there's some fans who like both teams, but I'm just not that guy. I've never been a Cubs fan. They just always have driven me nuts my whole life. So I hate to say it. They're a good team right now. I would not be surprised to see them win one. The thing with them is I think they have a little bit of problem with is their management is, I think they're a little bit afraid to take some chances and do what they got to do to get the job done too. I think they're a little, what's the word I'm looking for? They're like the opposite of Poles with his impulsiveness. They're like, they don't want to make moves to make their team better and give their team a chance to win. So, that's the thing I would say about them. But I think hopefully it's the Bears. The Bears are on a good trajectory, but I don't know. The Cubs are a pretty good team right now. They got a pretty solid roster, so it wouldn't surprise me if they won first either. But I think I'm gonna say Bears just because that's what I want to see happen. Maybe I'm biased in that, but I'm gonna say Bears. What do you think, Tim?
Technically, it was the Cubs because they won it in 2016. So they technically won it first, which the Bears won a championship before that even. But
I think he's talking about now.
I know what he's saying now. I was just saying, in recent memory, the Cubs won it first. But from now, I personally think it's the Bears. And the reason is like the Cubs have talent. The problem with the Cubs is they're not willing to spend money, which is crazy to me because they have it. They're not willing to spend a lot of money on key free agent players. And everybody thought they were going to do it with Kyle Tucker. And then he kind of fell way off on the Cubs this year. He started off really hot and kind of fell way off. To me, they don't have the starting pitching to compete for a World Series anytime soon. I think they're like one of those above average playoff teams, but they're never going to, they're not ready to. Now, Cliff, this is a good question. And I will say, I think they're going to beat the Brewers because I think the Brewers, they do this every year. Yeah. What's the point of winning all these games in the regular season to lose in, 3 or 4 games in the postseason, which is what they do. That's the Brewers that's their MO. That's what they do.
That's a tough matchup.
It is, but I don't think the Brewers are that good of a team. I think they just They know how to win regular season games, and they were really good in the regular season this year, even more so than normal. But I just don't trust them in the postseason. I don't. And until they prove me wrong and they prove they can win a playoff series, which they have not done, by the way, in a very long time, I don't see it happening. I do kind of like the Cubs in this series, though. I do. Now, do I see the Cubs getting past the Phillies or the Dodgers? Not a zero chance. Zero. None. So we'll see. But I don't know. I disagree with you, though, Aldo. I love me some Miller Lite, so I will not agree to that. I love Miller Lite.
Yeah, he's Aldo's right. That all them light beers, that's all piss water. None of that shit's. I like craft beers. They actually have some alcohol in them. You know, something that's not like 2% booze in that. Those beers suck. I agree with you on that. I'm not big on those light beers like that. But we've been kind of going over time here, so we better get out of here and get this last question. And this is a good question too from J2K. He wants to know what major changes we see coming out of the bye week. I kind of alluded to it a little bit earlier. The biggest thing I see coming is I think we'll see more from the defensive line rotation, like Shamar Turner getting more reps. I tend to agree with you too, Tim. I think Billings will get some more look, especially on early downs, because he's been pretty good in the run game, and they need that. And you know, I again with the guys getting healthy, also on the back end, you know, with Edwards getting healthy and Kyler Gordon coming back next week. The major changes I would see, I imagine they're obviously going to play a lot of nickel with Gordon in there, but I could also see Gordon seeing a lot of outside work too. Again, especially on early downs. When they get in their base packages, I would not be at all surprised to see Kyler Gordon playing on the outside more, because he's going to be good in coverage, and also he's a guy that can stop the run. So you want to get him on the field as much as possible. I could see that being the case there. They're going to use him both inside and out. So that's the major changes that I would see coming. As far as offensive line is concerned, we didn't talk about this either a lot, but I think Benedet's your guy going forward on the left side. And on the right side, I think it'll still be Darnell, and Trapillo is the first man in. He's probably the swing tackle, but he better get more comfortable on the left side if he's going to be that. So that's kind of where I see it going right now. But really, I think if anybody gets hurt, Braxton would probably be the first guy to go in on the left side if Benedet got hurt, would be my guess at this point. But I wouldn't count Ozzie out either. So we'll see. I think him being on the left side, if we're going to ever see that, is going to be more in the future, like next year, possibly more so than this year. And Aldo says Greg is going to be breaking down some Theo Benedet film on Monday. That's awesome. So you guys should check that out on GTF on Monday morning when that comes out. Probably it'll be on 11 Central, if I'm not mistaken, on Monday morning. So check that out, guys. Anything you want to add to that, Tim, as far as the major changes before we get out of here?
Yeah, to me, I think there's going to be several, especially defensively too. But I think the two most tangible things that we're going to see change, the two most obvious changes we're going to see, are going to be the run scheme. I think is going to be a little bit different to try to get it going. I think we're going to see some different looks from that side of the ball to try to get those guys going, because right now it's just not very good. But the number one thing, the thing I think we're going to see the biggest change is they're going to try to get DJ more involved in the offense, because as of now, he's not been a very big contributor.
Yeah.
And they know that he is very critical to this team's offensive success. And I think they're while they're on bye, they're going to be able to work on that connection between him and Caleb a little bit more. Because right now it kind of seems like, and I like it because I love Rome Odunze, and I think he's a very, very good player, but they've kind of force-fed him the ball at times, Caleb has, because, you know, that's who he trusts. That's where he's got chemistry. And you know, when things break down, you see it in games all the time, guys. It's either he's looking for Rome or he's looking for Cole Kmet. Those are the two guys that he looks to when he's in trouble. So I think they're going to really work on that, not relationship so much as they're going to work on that, the chemistry between those two, and try to get DJ some more looks on the offense this week. If I had to guess, that's what they're going to do.
I agree too, J2K, with that point. I watched the run game improve with Theo Braxton struggling inside zone. Braxton has been terrible in the run game this year. And that's where he has really made his bones in the league to this point. The reason that he's been a solid starter, or the closest thing you can be to a solid starter that's not a very good, you know, I don't know how else to word that, because he's not a great player, but he's a decent player. He's made his bones, like I said,
average. He is an above average left tackle.
Probably. He's been, and it's not so much because of his pass, his pass pickup, his pass pro. He's a good He's a good run blocker. He has been. He's not been that this year. So I do think that that's going to be a big thing to see too. I think that'll help out a lot. And you said Braxton was great in wide zone. He was when he was with gets the offense and with the Waldron offenses too. And it's a little bit different for him now, I'm sure. But still, you would think, I think that injury has really played a part in his play. I just don't think he's going to be the same guy at any point this year. And it was time to move on. So, I'm excited to see how Theo does going forward, but we're pretty much out of time. And I don't, there is one more question in here I want to answer just real fast because Cliff's such a loyal listener and he's always here and always asks such great questions. So I do want to answer this for him. He wants to know what grade we would give the team to this point in the season. I would say I'd give him a B minus. If you ask me, because I think for they've done some really good things. I wouldn't say that they're a failure or anything like that. They've done some pretty good stuff, but they're not quite where they want to be. They've got a lot of work to do. They're somewhere between a B minus and a C plus because the defense they've really had some issues. Like I said, stopping a run and halting offenses in their yardage. They've done a pretty good job of limiting points, but that Detroit game was awful. So I do think I think I would get, like I said, I'd give him a solid B minus, C plus, somewhere in that area. But I think there's a lot of room for improvement. It's definitely not perfect, but we've seen a lot better to this point than we saw at any point offensively in the last few years. What do you think, Tim?
I agree with you, believe it or not, 100%. I think it's somewhere between that B minus and C plus. I think if you would have asked me this after week 2, I would have told you it's like a D. But if you would have asked me after the Dallas game, I probably would have said A minus, B plus. I think it's somewhere in between. And I'll tell you where I stand, like my what's the word I'm looking for? My please meter, like where am I at happy wise or with where the team's at? I would probably be in that A range because I think what they've accomplished with Ben Johnson so far through 4 games is a huge step in the right direction. Has it been perfect? Absolutely not. I don't expect it to be perfect at all. But at the same time, I'm really happy with the direction that it's gone. And I think it's only going to get better from here. And I am so excited to see the Bears and Commanders or Redskins, whatever you want to call them. It's hard for me to remember what they are these days because they were the same team for years. But I'm very excited to see that game. I want Jaden Daniels to play. I want revenge. I'm sick of it. I've been waiting for a year. That is the game that single-handedly turned the season around last year. Maybe this year they win that game and they turn around the other way and they take a huge leap for the rest of the season. That would be amazing.
Well,
very favorable schedule from here on.
King Daniels is playing this week, so I would imagine he'll play next week against the Bears too, providing he stays upright in this game. But although this is a good question, we don't have a lot of, since we're out of time here, let's go ahead and do this. He wants to know who has the best T-shirt tonight. I didn't wear a band shirt tonight like Tim did. I've got our cousin Jake won a national championship at this school, University of the Cumberlands in Kentucky. So I wore my Patriot Wrestling shirt today for him. But like I said, he was a national champion there, 4-time All-American, a lot of pride in that kid. He's just a phenomenal wrestler. But Tim, look, I love Stevie Ray Vaughan. So if anybody picks Tim's shirt, I would not be upset by that because Stevie Ray is he was the man. Matter of fact, there's a video. I don't know if you guys have ever seen it before. It's probably running around YouTube to this day, but there's a video of Stevie Ray Vaughan playing live on stage one time. And he's just playing the solo like he does, doing a Stevie Ray thing, like his sound, his general sound. And all of a sudden, one of his strings snaps. I believe it was the D string, if I'm not mistaken, just snaps right off. He keeps playing like nothing happened, which is, that's one thing. It's to keep playing and understand how all the other strings work to stay in the key and all that. That's great. To being good enough to do that, that's all well and good. But not only does this guy do that, keep playing with that broken string, but as he's playing, somebody brings him another guitar and they like move this thing around while he continues to play it and put another guitar over him. And he literally does not pause in his guitar playing during this solo as they switch out these guitars. It's just crazy. So, I mean, Stevie Ray, man, I agree, man. The guy is he was the man. So I wouldn't mind if you guys picked Tim's shirt over mine tonight, but.
I have one cool thing about Stevie Ray Vaughan. So I'm actually not a huge fan of Stevie Ray Vaughan's music. I'm not really into that. bluegrass, blues type. I don't know. But as a guitar player, he's absolutely freaking phenomenal. And I love his guitar playing.
Music is awesome too.
What's that?
Music is awesome too. Stevie Ray's
I don't know
awesome.
if I like his music all that much, but I do. Some of his songs are good. I don't want to take it away from that.
Pride and Joy is awesome.
Yeah, well, yeah, like I said, some of his songs are good. I just really like his guitar playing. And cool story, my son Maverick, if you guys haven't heard me talk about before, is learning guitar, and he's getting really, really, really good. Maybe next week I'll see if he'll come in here and play for you guys during our show, since it's a bye. We'll be coming off the bye. He can play some pretty cool stuff. Maybe I'll give him a couple minutes to play for you guys. But his guitar teacher that he's learning to play with. So really quick, small backstory. Maverick's guitar teacher was actually the head custodian at his elementary school. And one day Maverick was talking to him about music and all his music knowledge. And Larry was like amazed by his music knowledge. He's like, well, Maverick, I play guitar and blah, 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 blah. And Larry started offering guitar lessons to students or to whoever. And of course we were like, yeah, we'll do it. Come to find out, Maverick's guitar teacher, Larry, played with Stevie Ray Vaughan. So this guy is legit, really good guitar player. And it's been such a blessing for Maverick. Maverick is getting really good. And he's only been playing for 3 years. So it's pretty impressive how far he's come. And he's got a very good teacher. Very lucky to have a teacher who has that kind of pedigree. Yeah, I don't play guitar. I wish I did.
I'm probably a better guitar
natural
player,
though.
But he's probably a better drummer than I am.
Yeah.
So, but in any case, yeah.
He looked like he's something strung out on right. Oh, that's funny.
But look, King, as far as your comment here, wanting to learn how to play, to me, it's as simple as just doing it. One day when I was young, I just got a guitar. I asked my dad for a guitar for Christmas, and I started playing it. I looked up tabs and stuff, and I just started dicking around with it. I'm not a great guitar player by any stretch, but I can play some chords and stuff and do some things. And the drums, I'm completely self-taught on my drum set. I literally went and bought a drum set after I played on my friend's dad's drums for years, just dicking around on them. And I literally learned how to play that way. And I'm not great, but I'm probably, I'm a better drummer than I am a guitar player. I'm just, a better guitarist than Tim is. It's hard to explain, but it's one of those things where, again, I just feel like if you really want to learn how to do something, just do it. Just get on and play. And yes, Cliff, the calluses from playing guitar are a pain in the ass. Once you build the callus, it's no big deal anymore, but it does hurt when you're first getting it going. It takes a while to develop that. But
I will say the tab thing is absolute fact. Maverick, has learned a ton from his teacher, especially the techniques, but all the songs that he's learned how to play, like all the songs he likes, it's all from tabs. He just goes on there, gets tabs, and eventually you get so familiar with your fretboard that you don't even need tabs anymore. You can just play anything. So he's starting to get to that point. He's starting to learn it. But anyway,
you learn the sound, what it is. It's from repetition. You learn what everything sounds like. When I played sax, it was the same way. I can still hear what certain sounds on a sax sound like in my head now. It's weird how that is. Like certain notes, like I can literally hear an E flat in my ear right now. It's just the way in my head. It's just you just get used to it over hearing these sounds over time. So we have spent so much time on this show, guys. We're way over time. Aldo's probably ready to kill us by now. So we're gonna get out of here. We appreciate you guys being here tonight. There was a lot of great discussion, a lot of great questions. We love spending time with you guys every Friday night like this. So please join us. We're always here at 6:00 every Friday evening, like I said, Central Time. You can follow us all on extra Twitter. I'm at _Jeff Willis. Tim is at Tim Willis 24, and our executive producer Aldo is at Barroom Network. And also, guys, if you don't mind giving us a like to the video, subscribe to the channel so you can get all that great content here on the Barroom. Like I said, we're here just about every day of the week. So again, guys, we appreciate you as always. And until next time, we'll see you next week. Bear down.
Stop, Bears.
This is the journey that will never end. New and mightier foes will arise. New adventures will begin. Until then, we bid you farewell.
The Willis Twin Towers podcast is a Barroom production. Jeff and Tim Willis are the producers and co-hosts. Aldo Gandia is the director and executive producer. The opening theme music was produced by Tim Willis. Any copywritten material used was under the Fair Use Act for commentary, criticism, and news reporting. This show is also available in audio-only format and can be found wherever you download podcasts. Just search for Barroom Network.